Hello and welcome. We're just going to wait for a few more of our friends to join us and we'll get started. So get your supplies and get ready. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Carol. So this is going to be a fun painting. It's a lot of like big sections of colors. We're going to be playing with some different lines. I really had fun painting this. And of course we can make it our own. Hi, Justin. I had to hide your painting. I didn't want you to be able to see it in here. But we're just going to wait for a few more of our friends. I know Karen and John are going to be painting with us tonight. I'm using acrylic Craft Smart tonight, and the colors I am using, let me just turn this for so you can see what I'm doing. Well, the colors that I'm using tonight are white, bright green, dark green, turquoise, red, brown, and black. Of course, you can add any other colors into your painting. If you're sitting at a table with an easel, I like to have my paint right underneath me, just so I can look down at my paint, look right up at my canvas. It's nice and easy. I have some paper covering underneath so I can try things out, wipe my brush off. I ran out of paper towels, so I'm using my rag tonight, and I have some brushes, different sizes. Every time I paint, I find that I have a new favorite. My cup of water, and I have some tea tonight, so hope you have a nice snack or a drink. So we are going to be painting kind of like Fenway Park with the green monster, a little bit of the Sitco side in the background, and it's like we're like laying or sitting in the grass, and we have the ball is like right next to us, so it's big right here. We have the texture of our grass, and then as you look further out, the grass gets more solid because it's further away and less detail. In this part here, I didn't go ahead and write all the actual words and numbers. You totally could, but my focus really is on this, the ball and the red in the sky, or in the sign, and the green. So it's more of kind of like a graphic. I really didn't care about the tiny little details, but of course you could. If you pull up a picture or Google Fenway Park, you can really start adding different things into it. I went to art school in Kenmore Square, and one of our buildings was on Newbury Street Extension, and that was like right next to Fenway. So we had to like cross, I forget the name of the street now, but with like giant canvases and, you know, bags with all our supplies while everyone was going to the game. So we always we didn't like the game nights because we had to like fight through the crowds, but it was so much fun. And you know, having night classes when the game was going on, we could hear the crowd and the lights were on. It was pretty cool. So I have some fun memories with going to games as well. And another great memory I have growing up, you know, being a little kid, and it's hot, and I can hear the TV with the game on, and I'm just, you know, playing, coloring probably, but hearing that game and feeling just safe and happy and at home. So yay for baseball, and go Sox. So let's go ahead and start our painting. I have my canvas vertical tonight. Karen and John, are you there? Are you painting with us? So I want to make sure you guys are here before I start. So, of course, you know, any brush that you have is perfect. Colors you can kind of play with. I'm using a bright green, which is apple tart, dark green, grass green, if you're using Craft Smart, brown, red, turquoise, or light blue, or any color you'd like for your sky. What else? My canvas is vertical, but of course you can switch that. And we'll get started in just a moment. I hope you had a wonderful day. All right, here we go. So we're going to start, I'm going to start by using my long brush. It's a small flat. I get great control with this. Oh, there you are, Karen. Hi, Karen. Hi, John. I'm so excited to be painting with you guys tonight, and I can't wait to paint with you all in person. One thing that I'm working on right now, I bought 10 stand-up easels. So I'm planning on doing some outdoor events where we'll all have our own easels, and you can of course bring a chair and sit at it because you can change different heights and stuff like that. So hopefully soon we'll actually be painting in person, which would be fun. But anyway, let's get started. So I'm going to be using this brush here. It is a flat brush. I have great control with it. I can get a nice thin line. To start, we're going to kind of break our canvas up into 3 lines, and that is going to be the top of our green monster, the bottom of the green monster, and then the kind of like a middle line. We're going to break that where like the scoreboard is. We're using our artistic license in this, so it is not, it's not completely accurate, each part and how, proportion and all that, but of course you can change that and make it however you'd like as well. So Google Fenway Park or Green Monster, and you can pull some ideas from that as well. I'm going to create a light green. You know what? I'm going to do a light blue. So very light blue. We're just going to use this as our mark maker or as our pencil line. So I have some white and some of that turquoise. I'm just going to give it a quick little wipe just so I can paint over this, but it's just going to, act as like a pencil mark for now. So I wiped on both flat sides. Now I'm going to find halfway up my canvas, and I'm going to put a mark on one side. If you want to measure that with your brush or a ruler and then go on the other side and make a mark as well, you sure can, or you can eyeball it. So step 1 is going to be cutting our canvas right in half. Let me fix this a little bit. All right, here we go. So about halfway up, I'm going to make a mark. I could go ahead and measure if I wanted to, or eyeball it. I'm going to stand my brush up. So using that bottom edge, let's practice our ice skating, getting that nice thin line. And I'm just going to slide my brush right across. Now, I can move that line up a little bit later, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we just want that to be nice and light. Anyone who's painting with me tonight, feel free to say slow down or ask any questions throughout this. And if you're not watching this live, then you can feel free to pause and rewind, and also send me questions in the comments below or in a message right here on Facebook. All right, so I have one. Now I'm gonna open up my hand. It doesn't have to be stretched out all the way, just nice and open. And I'm going to kind of use the my width of my hand and make a little mark. So that's going to be the bottom. Now I can kind of play with that line. So maybe kind of, John, you can keep your hand closed like this, or just kind of not so far out. We can play with that. Once you make that dot, you can say, well, do I think that's going to be enough grass area? I'm kind of looking for another hand for my grass area. I'm kind of close. I can move my line up a little bit. So we kind of want like a nice, gentle, open hand here. And then for my grass, another gentle, open hand down there for that space. So now once I finally kind of move that line up or down, I'm going to extend it all the way across. That's going to be the bottom here, the bottom underneath that black. So I can extend, I can take that measurement now that I know, and make a mark on one side, make a mark on the other side, stand that ice skate up and slide it right across. Cool. All right, we're doing good. So I have 2 lines, which is the top of here and the bottom. Now I'm going to almost cut it in half, maybe making the green a little bit taller, or you can extend this up later. So you can find the middle and bring it down just a little bit, or you can cut it right in the middle and we can extend the green up. It's kind of whatever you'd like. I'm gonna find the middle and move it down just a little bit, and I still have the opportunity to bring up my green if I want the green monster to be a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna find that middle, just move it down just a little bit, make a dot. Again, let's take a measurement or eyeball it and bring it over here. All right, let's stand that ice skate up again and glide right across. Now, when we're doing like an object or a place that we definitely know, we've seen, rather than something kind of out of our imagination, we get kind of like tight when we're painting. Loosen up. This isn't photorealism. This is, we're using our artistic license. It's kind of poppy. It's bold. So kind of just embrace that and kind of have fun with it. Or you can get tiny little details and work on this for days and really get accurate. So it's kind of whatever you'd like, but I'm going to go for more of like the poppy fun. So I have now my grass area. I have my black part where my scoreboard or stats are going to be on, then the green, and then I have the room for my sky. Perfect. All right, I'm going to put down my long brush. And I am going to start filling in my grass area here with my apple tart or my light green. If you have one green, I would just add green, white, and yellow, whatever you got, that'll be perfect. This is going to be our grass. But I am going to leave a little bit of space for our dirt way back here. So I have the bottom of that line. Now I'm just going to do another line parallel to it, nice and tight to that last line. And I'm going to fill in all of this with my green. I could pick up a bigger brush. You can paint the sides of your canvas if you'd like. You know I'm bad at remembering that. I do need like a little sign. So I'm just going to continue filling in. So I did leave a little bit of space from the bottom of my black area for my dirt back there. I had a really busy day. But it was a good day. The sun was nice. So I'm just brushing across. Take your time. Big brush strokes, plenty of paint on there. You don't want to feel like you're scraping your paint across. You want it to move nice and easily. And just get that down. We're going to be putting the grass that's right next to us. We'll put that on top later. But we're just getting our like main sections down for now. All right, so while you're finishing that green, you can start thinking about your sky. So you could have just pure turquoise or pure bright blue for your sky, or you can have maybe some light wispy clouds in there, which I created by just adding a little bit of the white to kind of mix in there, just to kind of soften it. I added more pure turquoise towards the bottom and added more white as I went up, allowing there to be darks and lights in my sky. I am going to use, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to pick up my big brush. So I have just a chip brush here, and I am going to tap on into my turquoise. Of course, you can use whatever brush feels good, or whatever brush you have, just a bigger brush just because you have a big area to work with. Now I'm going to focus right down here, and my goal is to kind of keep this nice and neat. So if I need to use my white grit brush or my or my long brush, of course I can pick that up, but I'm just going to start right on there. Maybe adding a little bit of white. I find the white really kind of helps coverage and adds a little interest. I'm just slowing it down as I get close to that top of that green. Bringing it all the way across. Painting the sides if you're doing so. So after I've gotten a little bit of that blue going, I'm going to start playing with that white and blue. So start adding a little bit more interest, a little bit of wispiness too. Now you could use the edge of your brush, you can use the whole width of your brush. You can continue just with your pure turquoise or starting to bring in some of that white. You're to find that the more you go back and forth over your paint, the more of a solid color you're going to get. If you just kind of let it kind of get on there, move it back and forth just quickly and just a little bit, you're going to see more of a variations in the lights and darks. Fun to play with. All right. Also, when you're getting close up here, we are going to have our lights up, and you want to think about how light your sky is to how much you, like, you know, if your sky is super light, will your lights pop as much as you'd like, or will they blend away? It's up to you, but, you know, keep that in mind. So I'm keeping like a little bit of blue in there, of course adding that white, but add a little bit more white, but I still want there to be enough blue for that light, the lights to really pop. All right, that looks good. All right, nice. So I'm going to start filling in the other sections. I have my green, and then I have my black, and I have my brown and white combo. With my green here, I can kind of play with adding my green, my grass green that I'm using. I can use a little bit of black here and there in that mixture. I could add a little bit of white. Maybe there's some light hitting on it, which is making it look a little bit lighter. Or it could be solid, pure grass green, which would be beautiful as well. So this is kind of where you can get as solid or as many colors and variations in your painting as you'd like. So I'll kind of show you all of everything I'm talking about. All right, I'm going to use my a flat. This is just, ooh, I already painted on it. My flat white grip brush. Just going to give it a quick little wipe. It has green on it. I'm dipping into the dark green, so I don't really have to wash it. All right. So, focusing on this section, I do want to keep in mind that I want this top to be nice and flat and clean. So I'm going to dip on into my grass green. Of course, I want there to be plenty of paint on, no drips though. And I'm just going to that middle line, this one here. So this is just pure green, or you could add, I'll show you this and then I'll show you the other options. And on this one here, it just says Boston, but you can write Boston Red Sox, you can write whatever you like. You could put the actual like socks on there, that'd be cool. I just took my time right on that top part. just using the width of my brush, and I'm using light pressure, just allowing that paint to move across my canvas. Light pressure to kind of dust away any of those marks if you're seeing any from your brush. And if you wanted to, you could add just like a tiny bit of black. Black is very intense, so you just need a little bit. I could add just a little bit in there. You don't want to, you want that, you know, that green monster green, but to add just a little bit of, you know, maybe there's a little shadow, or maybe adding a little bit of white. Let's see what that does. Just adds a little bit of interest. I'm going to bring that right down to this middle line here. All right. Next section, drop it down. Let's get that black in. I lied. Hold on. I'm going to actually step back from our wall, and we're going to go back down to the bottom. Just remember. So if you added any black, you're fine. But I'm going to pick up my long brush. And we're actually going to draw in our circle for our ball. I'm going to drop my ball, the bottom was here. I'm going to drop my ball on this one a little further down. So about 1.5 inches from the bottom is where I'm going to want my start of my ball. And I'm going to use my finger to kind of guide where and, you know, plan how big and where it should be. If you have something round, maybe like a small bowl, this is the size of mine, just with my hand on it just so you can see. But if you have something round, grab it. That's totally fine to trace. You're not cheating, don't worry. But I'll freehand mine, and I'm going to be using my edge of my brush. So I'm going to picture it, and it could be kind of touching the side of your canvas, or it can be over wherever you want it to be. I'm going to move mine over a little bit closer to the edge than it is in this one, and a little bit lower. So I'm going to find a good spot. So maybe here. And if your grass is really wet, give it a quick little dry, grab a blow dryer. That will just help it speed along. I'm just going to kind of show you again my hand, you know, kind of close is kind of how big that ball is. Just kind of showing you here. So I am going to grab that white paint, and I'm going to start my circle. And I'm going to just make kind of small little marks as I go. And I'm going to add a little bit of brown just so I can see it. And my ball's a little dirty. And I'm going to step back just to make sure it's not an oval or any other shape. Going for a circle here. So let's see. One more pass, then I'm going to step back. Let's check it out. Whoops. Hello. I told you I've been super clumsy. I don't know. Let's see. All right. Yeah, that looks pretty good. With my grass coming up on it, I think it might look perfect. I'm happy with the placement of it. I'm happy with the size of it. I'm going to leave it be for a moment. And I'm going to go ahead and start working on my, my black area. So you can grab your long brush or your white grip, whatever feels good. I'm going to let that be. Just going to fill in this, keeping in mind that I do have that little dirt area back there. And slowing it down when I get right here. I will have a white outline later, so I can definitely clean it up further. But of course, we like to take pride in our marks. So I'm just slowing it down. Gonna go right around that ball. And then I'll brush it out. So if I trace around that ball, I do pull back from it as well. So around, pull it out. Just so I don't see that outline. Almost there. And then I'm going to give this brush a whitewash wipe. I'm going to pick up my long brush and I'm going to fill in this section here. I'm going to be using brown and a little bit of white to mix in, allowing there to be lights and darks in this section here. And then we'll focus on our ball. All right. So I have my smaller brush just to have a little bit more control. Dip on into that brown paint, maybe a little bit of white on there as well. And I'm going to just whoop without drifts. Always wipe on both flat sides. Get the extra paint off. And if I get into that black paint, that's fine. I always can do a second pass. Or layer, or welcome a little bit of that shadow casted from my wall, being cast from my wall onto that ground. That feels good. I'm going to clean up this brown edge with black or with my white anyways later for outlining. So I'm not worried about it. I just want to make sure that I'm nice and tight to my ball and I don't have spaces in between. But that feels good. All right, let's talk about our ball for a minute. Yours might be brand new and super clean. So you could just use a lot of beautiful bright white, or you could add some brown into it, allowing there to be light and dark sections. Like I have here, my ball's a little dirty. There's a little bit more of a bright white up top, maybe the light's hitting it, and I can see that dirt on the bottom section here. But of course, yours could be brand new, or yours could have a little bit of grass stain on it, or maybe a little bit more dirt, or a signature. That'd be kind of cool. I like that idea. All right, so I'm going to go to my ball. I'm going to end up doing maybe a couple layers. So my first layer, I'm just going to kind of get it down, kind of prime this area, and then we're going to go back in and probably do a second layer, which is going to be more of like what our ball's going to look like. So this time you could maybe practice or try things out by adding a little bit of that brown, or just keep it pure white. But let's go ahead, priming our section of our ball, revisiting that roundness. If you have any puddles of black on the edge of your ball, just put your finger down and push into the black and lift up. It will just get it off that line. Cleaning up that edge. Remember, this is just kind of our prime. But if I wanted to get, just try something out, knowing I'm going to go over it, I just added some brown to my brush, and I'm going to wipe off a little bit of that extra. keep in mind that our ball is round, so I'm kind of pretending I'm holding it in my hand as I move my paintbrush across it. Think of that round brush stroke. You're going around your ball. Try maybe a few brush strokes going this way. Remember, this is kind of our practice. We'll have the opportunity to go back. So right now, I'm just going to leave it like that. And I will revisit that later. But for now, let's go up to our sky and start working on that area there. Again, you can just Google, Fenway Park, or, Green Monster, and maybe add if there's other buildings popping up or any other signs you want to add, feel free. I'm going to add the Sit Go sign, which, I told you, I did go to school in Kenmore Square, and we definitely saw that big bright sign every day. So here it is in my painting. I'm going to grab my long brush just for a little bit more control. Now, think about your placement of your sign. Do you really want it on an angle? You could do it more on a diagonal, so it's kind of turned a little bit more. Do you want it straight on? Do you want to see the word underneath? Do you want, just think about that. Think about the placement. Think about how you want it to be on your artwork. I'm going to take some white paint, just like we did with our ball. I'm going to kind of prime our spot. So I'm going to, with my hand, just kind of show you how big that area is. And I'm going to maybe do it on a slight angle so I can kind of picture it. It's kind of in the middle. I can maybe move it over to the side a little bit more, or do I want it over here? Maybe a little bit more over here. Just kind of pull this over. So, all right, I'm going to say maybe here, and I'm going to make a line going down. You could use your finger first and just kind of map out where you want it and how big. Then I'm going to go ahead, so I have a side, so I know how tall. Now I'm going to do a slight angle up. So it's on an angle in my picture. Think about how big you want it, something like that. Again, we're using our artistic, yes, Sarah, sorry. Thank you. Please let me know if I'm going too fast or slow, or if you have any questions. So thank you so much for that. I'm just going to stop just for a moment and let you all catch up. But I'm just going to think about the placement of my sign. So I'm just going to have a sip of my tea. And we will jump back in just a moment. Oh, Karen, that was you. I'm sorry. I think I said Sarah. Karen, let me know when you want me to continue on. Take your time, though. I'm in no hurry. So you can start thinking about anything else you want to add into your painting. Like I was saying, we're using our artistic license. We're making a big, bold, bright painting. And, you know, of course you could add maybe the top of a baseball bat kind of poking in here, laying on the grass as well. Or maybe more in your skyline. Or get really detailed with the words here. You could do the Sox logo. You could do so much. So really kind of think about it. We're just going to kind of get that base. Awesome, Karen. Thank you. Cool. So for the Citgo sign, I have a straight line going up and then a kind of a diagonal here. I'm going to come back down on the other side and I'm just going to fill it in. I'm going to fill in going right to left, allowing a little bit of like brush stroke to show through. So a little stripey. If you want to add a little bit of turquoise to this, you sure can. Just like the tiniest bit. Kind of clean up. I will outline. Pulling across. Priming our spot. All right, cool. So I'm happy with that. I will clean up those edges with my outline later. But now I'm going to focus on my light. And I think I was looking at the lights earlier today, and it looked like they had about like 7 rows of lights. I have 4. I'm happy with 4, but you could do 7 and make them a little bit smaller than mine, but I like mine. They're kind of poppy, big and bold, and I like that. And let's see. Here we go. I'm going to put my lights coming out on kind of like an angle, and I'm going to make an outline of a rectangle first. And I know that there's more beyond the edge of my canvas, right? Because it's cut off. So my whole light rectangle isn't on there. There's more off of the canvas. And I like that. So I'm going to continue doing that on this one here. If you want the whole rectangle on, just plan for it. But I'm going to have mine on a slight angle out. I'm going to put my hand up here just so you can kind of see how big that is. All right, kind of picturing it, planning it. And I'm going to do a slight angle. Drop it down. Just, you know, play with the size. Go down a little bit, see if that looks good. When you feel like it's big enough, then I'm going to put that bottom edge. It's the same angle as the top. And I'm going to start adding my rows of circles for my light. I'm going to start with just white, and I will add a little bit of gray detail to it. I'll bring you up closer so you can see, and let me kind of go like this so you can see the whole thing. There you go. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 going down, and I went all the way across. You could do as many as you'd like. Like I said, I think I didn't count, but I saw it looked like there was about 7 going down. But I liked 4. So I'm going to just go ahead, not really worrying about it, creating my circles. And I can clean it up. Just kind of getting them down. I'll bring you closer. Okay. I'm just going across. And if they're not solid, don't worry about it. They're light bulbs, so they'll be reflecting. So maybe there would be a little bit of blue showing. I'm just going across and down. You could get as round and perfect as you like, or kind of more free. That feels good. All right, I'm gonna put the lines going down, the structure that's holding it up, and I'm gonna start with just 2 lines going down. So I'm gonna start with one here. I'm gonna use that ice skate edge. I'm gonna bring another one down here. And I will go back with some gray, adding the details to both the structure and the lights. But just for now, I'm just getting down those, you know, the main parts. So on this part here, I'm going to add, using that edge, adding my diagonals going one way. And now I'm going to go the other way. And I'm going to do 2 lines going down that are a little closer together, just more structural parts, just to make it more interesting. Hold on. I'm sorry. Let me put you back up. So, whoop. I told you, I don't know what's going on, but I'm very clumsy lately. Sorry if I got you dizzy. Thanks, friends. All right, we're back. Ooh, let's see. 2 seconds. There we go. Now we're cooking. All right, we're back. We're good. And now I'm going to do those 2 lines I was talking about. I'm sorry about that. So here we go. I'm going to add 2 lines going down here. And now I'm going to add those little gray details. So I'm going to start by adding just a little bit of gray or black and just wiping on both flat sides. So I only have a little bit on my brush. It's not too dark. And I'm going to, I could use a detail brush as well, whatever feels good, but I'm going to just kind of lightly here and there. It's not like a full outline unless you want it to be, but I just wanted a little bit more of a definition, and you don't have to do it on all your lights, but I'm just using a little bit of a curve just to kind of get that in. I'm going to continue adding this gray, and I'm going to just go right on down on top of what I have up there for that structure, allowing there to be that bright white poking through. It's not really covering. And I'll do a little bit on these crisscrosses. Allow yourself to be a little bit more free. All right. So I'm going to define a little bit more up here. So anywhere you think you need like a little bit more definition, or if you like to have, if you want to have like another line going through here. Just start kind of playing with this. And if you're like, oh boy, I think I added too much gray, let it dry for a minute. And then you can just put your white right back on top, right? So if you think you've made a mistake and you want to cover something up, either take a little piece of paper towel and wipe it right out, let it dry. Sometimes I need to kind of use a little bit of white out, so I wipe it out, maybe put a little bit of white paint on there, let it dry completely, and then go over it. Rather than just keep going over something, it will get all muddy. So keep that in mind. So after that craziness, we got our light up there. I'm going to go back and probably clean it up a little bit more later. But for now, I'm happy with it. I'm going to go back down to my ball, and we're going to play with adding, if we want to add any more white to it or any more brown. I'm going to grab my my white grit brush for this. You could maybe use both. I'm also going to grab that detail brush. I'm going to have that ready because I can do my stitching in a little bit. But for now, I'm just going to focus on my ball and think about, do I want there to be a little grass stain on it? Do I want it to be perfect bright white? Do I want to have a little bit of dirt on it? So start thinking about that. Maybe I'm going to go in. I have, when we first covering of our ball, I added a little bit of brown into it, and now I'm just going to go in with a little bit of pure white at the top here, and I'm going to clean up this line. And I'm going to say that up there is going to be the brightest and cleanest. Think about you're painting something round, so think about that. Nice. All right, so maybe adding a little bit more brown. And then going in with my white. Slow it down. Remember, when you're painting, you know, it's a little bit of a process, right? And when you make a mark, it doesn't have to be your final mark. You can work with it. You can kind of breathe into it and see what you need to do. It will tell you, but you just have to be patient. It's kind of fun doing a little bit of problem solving when you're painting. Making a little dirty spot right there. Cool. All right, once you're done, I'll let you finish that for another minute or two, working on your ball. We, of course, can touch it up a little bit more later. Maybe I can add a little bit of a grass stain over here. Why not? A little white on top of it, just to give a little interest. And I'll add those stitches later. Let's see. I am going to go up to the black section here, and I'm just going to kind of break it up into a few sections. I'm going to probably use my long brush for my edge to make my lines, and then I'll go in with my detail to make my words and numbers. Of course, you can pull this up, you know, Google it and get as detailed as you'd like. But I'm just gonna go for it. All right, here we go. So in this, I know it's flipped for you, but if I'm looking at my canvas, this is on the left-hand side, and I have a line that's going to go across, and we're going to start with this section here. So I'm going to have two sections, top and bottom long, and then there are two sections that are small. So let's just look at that. So that is on, if I'm looking at my canvas, it's on my left-hand side. But of course you can flip it, but I think it's this way on the real deal. All right, so let's see. I'm going to cut it in half and pull it out this way. And once it's 4 fingers kind of open, I'm going to draw my line. And then I'm going to draw another one, creating 2 long sections, 2 small sections. From there, I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4 vertical lines, maybe kind of evenly spaced. I'll show you over here. So I have my line that's about 4 fingers open. Then I added 2 lines, which created my long section here with my 2 smaller sections right there. Now I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4 more long lines that are going to break this up evenly. So I can kind of picture it, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just kind of picturing how far apart, and I'm just going to draw those down. And you could do as many as you like. I'm going to do 4. Just like that. I'm going to clean those up. Cool. And from there, I'm going to add that outline on the bottom and top. So once we get this outline down, I'll give you a few minutes to touch up anything you'd like, and then we'll start our grass and our Citgo sign, just our final little details to bring it all together. We have all of our big areas in. So once I get this outline down, I'll give you a few minutes to go back and add any little thing you need to kind of clean up or finish. And if you're like, well, I think I got a little bit too big of a white line here, just let it dry, put that black right back on top of it. If anywhere else needs a little bit more of a white cleanup, you can do that with your white brush right now. Or, you know, any other little touch-ups you like, or you can run and grab a snack. We'll start up again in just a moment or two, which we're going to focus on our grass and then our Citgo sign and then all of our little details. So you guys are doing great. I'll pull it back just so you can see both. And this is also a great time to, you know, pull up Google Fenway Park or Green Monster and see what other little details you could add. And I apologize again for that fall. But yeah. So we'll start up again in just a few moments. So just get any of those little details in. Ooh. Karen, do you have a blow dryer? Do you have a blow dryer? If so, I would totally grab one. Or if not, I would just wipe out the ball, and you don't. Oh, we don't know. So I would just wipe it out and I would let it dry, and you can, put the grass in around it or go all the way up over it and then, paint the ball. I'm hand fanning it. Getting a workout. That's too funny. So I just get a piece of paper towel, wipe out some of that extra paint, let it dry, because sometimes if that bottom layer doesn't dry completely, it just won't dry, right. So just wipe it out a little bit. You can always add the grass on later. I'll show you how to do it, but you can add that on later. But we can focus on, let's skip the ball for now. Let's go up to our sit-go sign, get that in, and then we'll revisit the ball. And I can talk about how we're going to go about the grass, and you can do it at a later time too. But let's just go ahead and go to our sit-go sign. I'm going to be using my long brush because I have good control with that, but whatever brush you have that you like is great. I'm going to make my bottom of my triangle either behind my green monster or just right sitting at the top of it. I'm going to kind of find the middle of the top of my sign and move down a little bit, and that's where the top of my point is going to be. I do want there to be a little bit of white space from the top of my point to the top of my sign. I am going to create my two diagonals, which are going to make up my triangle, keeping in mind how big I want it to be. So plan out before you go up with your brush. I'm using red, dipping on in. Again, finding that middle of my top of my sign, moving down a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and add my diagonal out. And I'm going to do my diagonal out on the other side. Cool. I'm going to fill all this in red, well, in my triangle. And then I will add a little bit of shadowing, creating that cool effect of our sign. Step back, see if it's big enough or wide enough. Let's check it out. All right, so once I have my triangle filled in, I'm going to use that paint while it's wet. And I'm going to create a little bit of a shadow effect like I have on this one here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line from the tip down, stop, and then I'm going to go down to my corners. Okay, we're going to create now 3 triangles in this, and then we're going to add a little bit of our shadow. So we're going to do this while our paint is wet. So I'm going to add a little bit of black to my brush that has red on it. I'm going to wipe it on both flat sides, just mixing that paint. I don't want lots on there because I don't want too heavy of a line. This is just very light. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right at my tip and go down about halfway down into my triangle. And then I'm going to go ahead and branch out from there. So I'm going to go on one side and then on the other. So if I added a center line, it would kind of be like a peace sign. And on the two sides in the red, I'm just going to add with red and maybe a little bit of black. I'll show you the other one too. I'm just going to put that on. I notice it's a little bit too much black, so I'm picking up some red. Just wipe that out a little bit. And I always can go back and add another layer of red to brighten it up if I like, if I'm like, oh, it's too dark. But I have one. And then on this one, on this side, I'm going to focus more on the edge. So I'm just going to draw a line going down and then just brush in. I'm not going to go all the way to that center line. Show you again on this one. Don't overthink it. You're just adding a little bit of shadow into that sign. While I'm here, I'm going to clean up my edges by using black and giving those three sides, the sides and the top, a little bit of an outline. Maybe if yours is on an angle, maybe this side, the black line is a little bit thicker because it's seeing more of that side. I think that looks great. I am going to go down to my green monster part. I'm going to grab my detail brush. If you have like a gel pen, or if you wanted it to be black and had a Sharpie or anything like that, of course you could write with that. I'm going to use my paintbrush. I'm going to write Boston. I think I'm going to put Red Sox underneath it. I'm going to use my white paint. If your hand is clean and your background is dry, of course you can put your hand down, but move your canvas. It's not stuck on your easel, so you can hold it laying it flat or whatever feels comfortable. If you are happy with the way the green looks, this is the time to go about doing adding your lettering. But if you wanted to give it a second coat or clean anything up, then go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and write. When I'm writing with my paintbrush, I practice on paper first because it's very different. Then I make sure it's spelled correctly, and then I make sure I have enough space and how I want it spaced out, right? So I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to hold my paintbrush back a little bit further. And I'm just going to go for it, but you could get as fancy as you'd like. I'm going to just go for it, and then I'll clean up my letters. Let's see. And I'll clean that up later. I'm going to write Fenway here, and then I'm just going to make some little dashes. I'll bring you over to the finished one to show you. On this section here, on these two, I'm going to write American, and then this section here, I'm going to write National. And then I'm going to just kind of make some scribbles because I don't want to write down everything, but you could look it up and write down whatever information you want on there. So first thing I'm going to do very freely. I don't really want it to be the main part of this painting, but I'm just going to write Fenway. And I can clean that up later. I'm going to go over here and write American. And then National. like I said, you could look on there and write whatever, or go on Google and look and see exactly what it says, or you can make it up and add whatever you'd like. All right, so I'm going to show you this one here. Kind of pull it back so you can see, and it's actually, I'll pull you closer. And just going to show you that I just created some little dashes, some little squiggles to kind of fill in that area there. Again, it's out of focus for me. I didn't really care about all that. It was more of the ball in Boston and the Citgo sign, the green monster. So you can get as detailed as you'd like with that. I'll just show you that, and we're just going to move on to our grass and our final detail, which will be our stitching. So for our grass, I'm going to play with a few different colors and layers. I'm going to be using my long brush. I can use my white grip brush if that feels good. I am going to go for a little bit of that controlled line, but also I'm not going to worry about it too much. I just want there to be seeing the grass here, and then it gets out of focus and flat back there. And I want my ball to feel like it's kind of sitting in the grass. So I'm going to start with just some green. So the same color that we have going on there. Karen, I would go ahead and go over my ball again and maybe just work on the grass next to it, and then wait for your ball to dry and then put your grass in front of it. But I'll just go ahead and do my grass. So I'm just going to start with my light green or apple tart, and I'm just pulling it up, just getting that ball started to be nestled in that grass. Just wakening this area here. I will be adding and I'm going to play with a little bit of black. I'm going to pull a little bit of that green, put it somewhere. So pick up a little bit of that green paint, put it to the side of your palette, add a dot of the black and mix that in. It's going to give you a darker version of your green. And it's also to give a little bit of a shadow and depth to your grass. So it's like 5 million little pieces, so I'm not worried about these darker ones because I know that I'm going to do more on top of them. We're getting there. You're doing great. Wiping off my brush, I'm going to do green and a little bit of white this time. And then I'm going to go back to that pure green. So just kind of layering it. And of course I could, do a few layers and step away for a little bit, add a few more tomorrow morning. Our painting doesn't have to be all done in just an hour. Kind of get the bones of it down and continue to work it. So I played with pure green, I played with green with a little bit of black, I added green with white. I'm going to go back maybe to my pure green, get a little bit different heights in there. So we're laying in the grass and the ball is right there next to us. So it looks big and we can see the individual pieces of grass. And then it gets further away, so we start losing that detail. Nice. So I'm going to keep playing with that. But for now, I'm going to pick up my detail brush and I'm going to start my stitching on my ball, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the back of my brush to kind of just scrape a little bit of like a guideline for my stitches. I also could use a pencil, or I could just go for it, but I'm just going to, with my finger, just kind of practice this kind of curve, and then I'm just going to use my back of my brush to kind of scrape into it a little bit. Now, I find that sometimes you do one side and then the other side is a little bit different size. So just kind of keep in mind you want them all to be the same size, and or you can make it your own. So go for it. You know what I'm saying? Here we go. So I'm just going to make these little V's. And if I made these little tiny V's, now I'm like, all right, am I going to change it up or am I going to stay tiny? So I'm going to try to stay pretty tiny. And of course, one or two, maybe a little bit bigger. That's fine. And I'm going to do the other side. So at this time, you know, maybe you could do another couple layers of your grass, or you could add something else into your sky. Or you could write put the actual logo in, the hood blimp, whatever you want. But I think that looks great for now. So I might add my words in here later. I might add another section or a layer of grass. I think I'm going to add a few little birds flying way up here. They're just going to go check out Fenway. Practicing on your paper first. And then, of course, sign wherever makes you happy. Maybe your signature on the ball. That would be really cool. Yeah, I think that was great. Sorry about the camera fall and all that, but you guys were great. I hope you had fun. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, and I hope to paint with you all soon. I think we're painting on Wednesday. I will post that with the colors. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, John. Thank you so much. And I hope you had fun. Please share your painting with us. I would love to see it. If you have any more questions, just let me know. Yeah, hope to see you all soon. Thanks, friends. Bye.